our life has just been so crazy. But we are back to our regular scheduled program. I am Isabel.
And I'm Tamera.
And together this is the Mutual Minds podcast.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, what is your peak and your pit of this week, or at least like the last 2 weeks since we missed last week?
Yeah. I'd say my peak is that I'm starting my job in 2 days. And
it's really exciting.
I'm so excited because it's remote, and I just never thought, like, at my experience level that I could land anything remote, just because I feel like there's more competition for those jobs.
Yeah, you've been trying for like years now.
So I'm so excited, and I officially have like my training schedule and everything, and I found out that I'm training at home too, which is really cool because I thought it was supposed to be on site. But yeah, we've had like a very eventful last few weeks, which is why we had to take off last week, because Isabel's family was here last week, and we had time to film or to record an episode, but there was so much going on. Like, let's just explain, because this is just insane. So you probably have heard us talk like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, something was wrong with my car. Like, we were coming back from Dallas, all the lights came on at the same time, we were freaking out. Got that fixed. That was like $500 something. And we were like, okay, like, could have been worse. And we split it, obviously, so that makes it even easier a little bit. But flash forward to like 3 weeks ago, my car does the same thing. And we're freaking out. We were in the middle of doing DoorDash. We had to like finish our orders, but like the car has like literally every single light you could think of on at the same time. The air conditioning goes out. It's like a whole thing. Not a sleigh. And then we go to get it fixed. That was like $2,000.
We had to tow it.
$2,000 to get it fixed, plus like $300 something to tow it there, because it was sounding really rough. Like, it did not sound drivable. So I was like, okay, we're gonna have to do a tow. And then because of that, I was gonna drive it to the appointment, but I didn't expect it to sound like that. So we missed the appointment because I was like, I'm gonna have to tow this. Like, I'm too scared to drive it. So we had to reschedule, so that pushed back at getting fixed. And it was a whole thing. Then flash forward to last week. It's fixed. We felt so good because Isabel's mom was coming in town, and we wanted to like make sure we had the car, because she was gonna rent a car so that we didn't have to like feel like stressed out about whether it's gonna work or not. And oh my god, it was a whole thing. So she did rent a car because our car was like not fixed yet. Then she cancels it because we're like, okay, finally we got it fixed literally the day before she came. So she cancels her car, and then we're on our way to the airport to pick her up. What do you know? All lights come back on again, and air conditioning goes out. We're in Texas. It's like 110 degrees still in October. So her mom gets in the car, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna just book it back home, but like, just letting you know that we're not gonna have air conditioning and all the lights are on. She looks kind of terrified, honestly, in the back seat, but we didn't know what else to do. So called the dealership, and we brought it back in, and now it's fine for now, but like, that was $2,000.
Yeah. And
that did not feel very good to spend. So that's definitely been a pit, like an overall life pit, but hopefully it's all up from here. But what are yours?
I'd say that is my pit. And then I guess my peak is also starting my job. I am on my second week of work this week.
Slay.
Which has been really awesome, and I miss like making consistent money and having a paycheck to always like have, and I get paid weekly, which is amazing. So that feels good. And we saw Tate McRae, which that was amazing, and that was really fun. Mm-hmm. As you guys know, that's literally how we like met and started our relationship, was through concerts and stuff. So that's still like a huge thing for me. So that was really fun to go to. And Austin has a lot of energy. That was like one of the loudest concerts I think I've been to in a long time. Today, we wanted to talk about just mental health, dealing with mental health within a relationship, dealing with mental health in general, because that's kind of where we're at right now in our life, and it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah. Yeah, this episode title is called When I'm Up and You're Down, and I just thought that sounded so cute, even though it's kind of like a trying situation to be going through. But yeah, basically, like, I think we didn't expect, obviously we moved across country, we didn't expect us to like be so shooken up about this, because life is technically a lot easier here, but it's still like a huge change in our lives. And I think since then, like, we've just been like so just strange. And I think it's been weird because like I just like have depression, like I will always have it, and as much as I don't want to accept it, it's something that I know I'm gonna always struggle with no matter where I am or like who's in my life. It's just always something I'm gonna have. But I think because my life somewhat feels like in control, I haven't been able to even like notice that I am depressed, but I don't have like interest in anything. And I think that's why, like, if you follow us on like TikTok or Instagram, like I feel like our social media has like reflected that. Like you can tell it's not getting as much love and like water as it needs, but I just like haven't personally like felt excited about that. But it took me like literally 4 months of feeling like depressed to realize that I'm depressed and that like I'm not really excited about anything.
Which I think is a very interesting thing, because normally when you are depressed, there's like chaos happening around you.
Yeah, and
but
it's
now
intense.
This is the first time you are depressed where like things are very much intact. Like obviously like stuff with the car like was rough, but outside of that everything has been fine. But like there's no chaos, but you still can feel that low, which is very interesting.
Yeah. Because like I was in a way worse depression like right before we moved here, and like that looked a lot differently. Like I would go to work, come home, and literally just
panic attacks, anxiety attacks.
I would like be like hyperventilating. Like it was like a really rough, scary time. But like here I just haven't felt excited about anything, but I feel like relaxed. And so I think it's been confusing to recognize that I am not feeling my best self, because it's like more hidden this time. And when I had to like sit down and think about it, I'm like, this explains everything. Like I haven't like been really in our social media. I haven't like been thinking about it. I haven't really had the will to go outside or anything lately. And I thought like, well, it's just hot here. Maybe I just need to like rest. And I think that's true. Like I think life was a lot more hectic and fast before moving here. So I think I did need time to relax, but it's also not like me to like not be excited about like life.
Yeah, now you've had like 7 months to relax.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't seem like it's enough.
Yeah.
Which is like almost a year.
But I really think that like I just needed to like, I think I needed this time to just like debrief and like sit down and think about things and like figure out what I want in my life. And I think the main goal when we first got here was really to push out social media. Like we wanted to try to do it full time so badly, but I think like doing that even kind of slipped me into a depression, because one, like you don't know when you're going to get a paycheck or if you're going to get a paycheck, and I think that uncertainty was not good for me. And I think that's something I needed to experience to realize. And now I kind of know how my brain works and what I'm good at and not good at. And I think with starting this new job, like I'm going to feel a lot more certain in things. Like even if the job is horrible, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it yet, but at least I know like I'm getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. And then I feel like that hopefully will give me the drive to like get creative again. But I guess
even if it doesn't, at least you know that you're longing for stability, and now you have that again.
Yeah.
So if we do take more breaks, at least you know you have something to cover the bills or whatever you need when you do feel sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think there's like a lot to this. I think like life change, move change, like, and it's not just that we moved to a different city, it's that like the entire environment is so opposite of what we were in
every possible way.
In every possible way.
Literally everything is different. And it's really hard to like navigate like change just in general, but also this is like the first biggest change I feel like we've had. Like, it was a big change for you to go from your grandparents to my house and then to move to New York, but like that also didn't feel as drastic to me because it was just 2 hours away.
Yeah.
But this is just like, wow,
Yeah.
okay, so now I have to make this work, or I said I was going to be a content creator, so now I have to make that work, or I need to do this, and it's very stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
life just in general feels heavy, and I think a lot of people right now have been dealing with that same feeling of just like a lot of people are struggling, a lot of people are getting laid off from jobs, and it just feels very, very heavy in life right now for some reason.
Yeah, but I think like the main thing we want to talk about today is like dealing with mental health issues in a relationship. And we've talked about this like briefly on TikTok before, and you guys like blew up those videos and like really enjoyed them. So maybe we should either do one of those on TikTok again or post these clips on our TikTok. But yeah, I think it's like really hard to one, be the person who's struggling in the relationship and like kind of feeling like a burden on your partner, and just like embarrassed. It doesn't feel good to like feel low and to not feel motivated.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's also hard for the partner who's not feeling low because you're trying to like keep your energy for yourself so that you don't slip into that, because it's so easy when you live with someone to like rub off of each other's energies. And so I think that's something that we try to like take serious, but it's really hard to balance that. Like,
I think it's harder for us too because we do this together. So whenever you're not feeling good but we need to post something, or whenever I don't want to post something but we need to, it's just like that literally affects the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which sucks because at the same time it's like you want to be successful and you want to keep something going, but you also want to be there for each other and like recognize that like you can't always be high all the time. Like there's gonna be times where things are low and it's gonna take more than just a week to get out of a depression. Sometimes it's gonna take a year, and then if that's what you need to do, then that's just what it has to be. But like I definitely think like sometimes that can get hard.
Yeah.
Because I feel like right now you've been dealing with like a big depression or mild depression, but then I think I'm okay, but then I feel like your energy rubs off on me because we're literally just like on this couch together all the time, and then I'm like, okay, well, now I feel down, and then you feel sad that I feel down, and then it's like back and forth, and like we're just saying sorry to each other over and over again, and it just is like, wow. But now it's like, now we're both down. I feel like this is the first time we've been like consistently down at the same time. And I feel like that is very new for us, because I feel like from most times I feel like you're struggling with mental health and I'm usually like decently okay, but now I feel like we're both kind of like just at a flat line.
Yeah, I think we're both just going through like transitional period right now where like
25 and 26, there's a lot going on.
I feel like that in itself is a whole different era. Like everyone talks about going from their 20s to 30s, but that like 25 mark, I don't know, there's something that's just been really rough about
that
it.
1 year change is like insane.
I don't know if you guys have ever like felt like no matter what you do, you just are not on the same page with your partner. Like
Never.
when you're feeling great, happy, motivated, silly, fun, amazing, your partner is like
In a depression, literally.
Yeah. And then when your partner is finally like, okay, I feel good now, let's do something, then you're like down. And it's so
That's how we've
frustrating
been.
and annoying. And I think we were talking about this because we've been like talking through all of this as much as we can to try to like just push through. And we were talking about how like I think sometimes I get like I fall into a depression, and then Isabel's fine because you're pretty good at like just keeping to yourself and like trying to do things to distract yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually you do kind of fall off, and then you get sad because like the energy has just been so low for so long.
It's hard to like get away from that.
Yeah, and then when I do finally have a good day, or when I come out of it, then you're still recovering from yours.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, okay, well now I finally feel happy, but now she doesn't, and then that's a whole other thing.
And then we both just flatline.
But it's so hard to balance, and I think a lot of people experience this, but they either don't talk about it or they're not hearing other people talk about it. So that's why we did want to bring this up. But it is,
well, I think
difficult.
it's also like my initial reaction to that would to be like for me to like go out and like have hobbies and stuff and like try to like keep myself going, but then I feel like I struggle with then feeling bad that I'm like going out and having fun, or like I'm doing something and I'm enjoying myself, and then you're just like sitting there crying all day, and then that's depressing to me too. So then I go back into a cycle of being depressed with you because no, I'm just saying, like,
that's just how you feel.
It's just, it doesn't feel good to have fun by myself and then you're like literally crying in bed all day.
Well, no, but I do think sometimes when you are like depressed, having time to yourself to just rot in bed is sometimes beneficial.
Yeah.
But it also,
well, just I think it just feels like uneven.
yeah.
Like if I'm just going out having the time of my life and my girlfriend is literally depressed and like has no feelings to the world, that doesn't feel good to like be out in the world, but it also doesn't feel good to sit and cry with you.
Well, yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about like how like trying to separate like your own feelings and mental health while also still trying to support your partner, because most often when your partner is in a depression, that's when they need the most support.
Yeah.
But you do also have to take care of yourself, or else you're both going to be rotting in bed together, and then that's not good, because now you both are stuck.
Which is why it's very good to like live a life together but also separately, and like have your own friends, have your own like hobbies and things that you like to do in your free time, so that like even when you're not depressed, I feel like that's just good to have in a relationship, so that you guys can like separate and like still be having fun separate from each other, but then when you come back together you also can have fun that way. But I definitely think it's good to like have a friend group, or like have, whether it's like painting on a canvas or reading books or writing in journals and doing things like that when your partner is struggling, I think is really important. And I feel like I need to get back into that, because I feel like I used to have a lot of hobbies and I don't really do any of those anymore.
Yeah, I also want to bring up, like, we did just go to that concert, and I was really happy because I feel like you finally had like a good time and like something fun to do and something to look forward to. But like for me, like I was glad that I went, and I was like the initial thought is exciting. Like I know that that's something I normally would love to do, but when I am feeling this way, like
it doesn't just stop.
It felt so weird because like concerts are literally, that's like both of our happy places. That's how we met each other, like you said. But like the whole night I just felt so neutral, and it sucks to feel neutral and like not be able to just like enjoy.
Yeah, well, it just sucks because you feel like you're like paying for experiences not just to not even enjoy them, and then they pass, and then now you have to just wait for the next thing, and now you just like go straight into work until the next thing that you can pay for, and then that thing doesn't feel good either, and it just like feels like life just keeps passing by and you're just spending money on experiences. But like if you're depressed, it just doesn't stop because you went out for one night.
Yeah.
Like it could stop at that moment, but then it's like you come home and you have to go back to work again and go back to your regular life, and I feel like that's really hard.
Yeah. But I do think like if you're going through this, I do think it helps to force yourself out, because even if you feel neutral the whole time, at least like you can come home and like say like, you know, at least I didn't just stay in bed today. Like this is the one time where I actually did try to get myself out. And
yeah, and even though you were feeling neutral, you keep watching your videos over maybe
Yeah.
because you liked having videos on your phone, even if it wasn't like enjoyable.
Like, I wasn't having a bad time, but like it's like I wasn't also excited.
You weren't present.
And that like it sucks, but I would have felt worse if I was just at home, you know? I do think it's good to like try to force yourself into situations, because sometimes that can kind of like trick your brain into being like, oh wow, I'm outside, I'm having fun, and then you can like sometimes trick your mind out of being depressed. But
so I guess, how did we get through a moment like that? I feel like, because I feel like it's hard when you're like willingly buying experiences with your partner to get out of a funk, but then you both are not experiencing the same emotion while there. And I feel like that's happened to us multiple times.
it has.
Like with you on the other hand, but also on me on the other hand. So like, how do we like usually get through that?
I guess like honestly we don't, and I feel like that's okay to like say. Like I feel like sometimes like when you're just so low, like you can't really do anything. Like I think it's good to get out of the house, just because I think getting outside in general is just good for your brain. But if it doesn't make you feel better at the end, then it kind of is like, well, did that even do anything? But I think it does. But I think like
I do feel like at Tate, I feel like I tried my hardest to still try to find ways to enjoy myself, even if you did feel low. Just because if I were to then feel low with you, then we both would just be like in the middle of a concert, just like on the verge of tears, and that would be
I think
strange.
you also were just genuinely having fun. You don't have to like think
I was excited.
Yeah, you didn't have to like say like, I'm gonna have fun.
Yeah.
You just actually were like present and having fun. But I think that helps too, like when one of you is down and the other one's fine, like when you still go out on like a date like that, where especially like a concert, because it's like we can be there together, but like once the show starts, you're kind of in your own world.
Yeah.
So like you can have fun, but like we're not even really paying attention to each other because you're watching the show.
Very true.
So I think things like that are good.
That's helpful.
Because like I was like out and I was enjoying myself. Like I was enjoying the music and stuff. So even if I wasn't like, you know, jumpy and crazy, at least I was like still enjoying something. But like you were able to just fully do your thing, and like we're still together.
So then on times when I'm the one down and you feel good, how do you feel like you handle that, or try to? Or you don't feel like we do that either? I think it's more rare,
is
but
that like Isabel doesn't really get sad often, or like I feel like
I kind of just brush things off and
Isabel's
just keep it moving.
Generally like a pretty happy person, I think, or at least like
I try
content.
to be,
Yeah, well, I also just think you're not mentally ill, so
well, I think I am, but
but I don't know, like I think when she is sad, it's actually really hard for me because I don't see her sad often, so then I feel like
then you start crying, and then you
I
start
do, because like
apologizing.
Normally she's good to go. So when I see that she's like moping around, I'm like, oh my god, I need to fix this. Like, what is wrong?
That's so interesting.
But like I think you feel like that to some degree, but you've also experienced it a lot more with me, so it's kind of normal that I'm depressed sometimes.
I guess so.
But for me, with you, like when I see you like sad, it like is very shocking to me because I don't see it often. So then I'm like, oh my god, I need to like do something about this.
Yeah.
But I also know that sometimes you just can't. And
I will say, I feel like through the years, I feel like we both have kind of like flip-flopped with like mental health issues and problems happening through our relationship from the beginning until now. And I do feel like we have a better way of coping with it now. And I do think it's a lot easier now that we're not long distance to deal with it. Because before, when we were long distance, there was like literally nothing I could say or do to help you at all.
Yeah.
So I think like the physical touch and like being together really does help.
I think too, like even when we first moved together, I think emotions were more intense because we didn't know how to like deal with those
Oh
situations.
yeah, and it feels so embarrassing when you first like move into with each other and you're like crying and the other person's like, why
yeah,
are you
and then it's
crying?
like
You're like
then you
still
feel
learning
bad,
each other.
and then like I'm crying even more because I'm having to cry in front of you, and then it's like so intense. But like now we're a little bit more just
mature,
like chilled out about it.
Yeah.
Like I remember like in New York we had like a tiny little apartment, but like we did have a 1-bedroom, and like that was like my crying room. Like especially during like the darker months, like
Yeah.
I would have to like come home from work, go into that room and close the door and just
Yeah,
sob.
but that was fine. And like I let you do that, and sometimes it would literally be for like 6 hours.
I know.
But like that is what you needed, and I was willing to give you that time. And I think that's also important to like not rush your partner through their depressive episode or whatever is happening, because if they need 6 hours to cry and sit and think about things in life, then I feel like they should be given that, and to not like rush them or be like, oh well, you should be grateful for this, or like let's stop crying and like let's go take a walk. Like sometimes when you're depressed you don't want to take a walk, you don't want to go to the gym, you don't want to do anything, and that also feels sad to watch your partner not want to do anything and just sit around and cry. But at the same time, if that's actually what they feel like their body needs, then I feel like that's also important to listen to that too.
Yeah, I do think like now that you said that, like
I feel like I
remember-
used to be like, oh, you need to go and do this, or like not you need to do this, but like I used to be like, well, I think exercising and going for a walk is gonna help you, and
yeah,
I was always like preaching that, but I feel
I
like
think
I've
like
stepped back from
I
it.
feel like you did preach to me a lot, like when we in the first years, but I also feel like
It was
you
out of
also
good
didn't-
reason.
it was out of good reason, and I also feel like you didn't like fully understand it, because when we started dating we were 18 and 19, so even like I didn't fully understand what it meant to be depressed. I think like the first depressive like episode I ever experienced was when I was like one that I actually recognized like, oh, this is bad and this is something, and I found out what depression is. I think I was like 15, but like even at 18, like I still didn't fully like know how to handle anything, and I didn't really know how to like voice what I was feeling to you. But I think once we moved in together, like you kind of understood more about like what I'm going through and how to handle things.
Yeah.
And but I do appreciate though, I think it's good to like ask your partner for like walks, because I think going outside and going on a walk is so beneficial for your brain.
Well, I just know it helps me. Like when I'm just inside for weeks, like it feels good to me because I don't want to go outside, but when I do like breathe fresh air, it's like a game changer for me. Or even just sitting on the balcony and just like smelling the air and like listening to birds. It sounds so stupid and cliche, but I genuinely think it is so helpful to
No,
some
it is.
people.
And I think like when you're depressed and like you literally feel like you're chained to your bed, I think like sometimes you need like that supportive like partner to say like, you don't have to go on a walk, but like I'm gonna go on a walk and it would be lovely if you came with me.
Yeah.
That helps, because like I'm not gonna go on a walk on my own because I can barely get out of bed. So I think having those little pushes, even if I say no every time, there might be that one time where I say yes and then it changes everything. And I think that's like really important.
What do you think is in the air right now? Because I feel like there's a lot of people. Like I literally like tweeted the other day and I asked if anyone else is also in a mental funk right now, and so many people replied and DM'd me and said yes, and that something's in the air. Like what do you think is going on?
I think it's like the fact that we are like actually living in a depression. Like
Yeah.
everything is so expensive.
Literally a modern depression.
Yeah, no one feels.
Rent
And
is
I've
insane.
been hearing TikToks, because at first everyone was like, oh, we're in a recession, but now I'm seeing more and more videos of people explaining how like this is literally the definition of the depression that like happened several years ago, but like it's happening again, and like we're just living in it, but like no one's calling it the depression.
Yeah, this is more than a recession.
Yeah, and
this is like now overboard.
It's just like nothing is affordable. Like the mental health crisis is like out of this world. Like there's so many people without homes.
I also feel like when good things happen now, it feels like it was like 7 months ago. I'm experiencing that a lot.
I've experienced that, but I noticed as I've gotten older, I've experienced that, and I think for me, it's a big part of it. I could be wrong.
Having responsibilities?
No, I could be wrong. I think this is just personal to me, but I think it's social media because, like, I'll do something fun, and, like, I know that was just, like, a week ago, but, like, when you're seeing, like, people on social media, like, doing something every day, like, they're in Greece, then Paris, it kind of feels like people are doing more than you, and then it makes you that's for me, I think, when I see people doing many different things.
I feel like social media was around when we used to go to concerts. In like 2016, we were all like on Twitter all day.
But I didn't feel that back then.
I guess TikTok wasn't really a thing at that time.
Yeah, I remember going to concerts during that time, and like I wouldn't be able to stop thinking about that for months. Like it was so amazing. But like I think when social media started, and like I'm talking about like you can follow like one creator, and just that creator is like doing so many different things, and then it starts to feel like you're not doing enough. And I think in like New York that happened where like things felt so long ago. Like I remember we saw Kehlani in concert, and we were like, that was literally 2 weeks ago, but that feels like it was 4 months ago.
Yeah.
But I also didn't even have time to focus on that because I was doing so much in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like the creators I'm talking about who are all over the place, like we were doing that much, kind of. And then I didn't really even have time to like think about like the fun things. I think it's a lack of being present. When you're like present in the moment, you're feeling every emotion, you're noticing like little details in the setting that you're in. It makes you remember the experience more. But when you are like filming and like thinking of other things and like getting content out of what you're doing, you don't remember the small details, and then it doesn't feel like you were there.
See, I felt very present at Tate though, but that still kind of feels like it was a week ago at least. But that was 2 days ago. But I felt like that was the most present I've ever been at a concert.
Yeah.
Like I was filming, but I also was like paying attention to everything, like even the crowd and the noises, and like I feel like I'm usually not like that. I feel like I'm usually like just in a whole different world.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess maybe this should be our question of the day. Do you ever feel like you do something in your life and it feels like it was forever ago, even if it was like yesterday?
Or like one bad thing happens and it feels like it's been lingering for a year.
And like what does that mean, and like what is that coming from?
Yeah.
If anyone knows.
It is very interesting though. But I don't know, it's just crazy. I feel like everyone's just been down in the dumps lately. And we talked about this in another podcast before, and it's still lingering, and it feels like it's getting worse, which is really scary.
You could probably tell, like, I feel like the last 4 episodes we've just been like
depression dumping on you guys.
Because like we try to think of other episodes, but we're also just like, this is very true to us right now.
Yeah. I'd rather talk about it now than to reminisce on it later. This is just real and how we've been dealing with things lately.
Yeah, it's been a crazy few months, but I think this is where we're going to leave off on this episode. Let us know your thoughts on this topic, and if you've ever experienced something like this with a partner.
Or if you're just dealing with like mental health stuff and just having a hard time in life, like how do you guys cope with that? Are there like specific movies you like to watch, or like TV shows, or like what are the hobbies that you guys like to do to get yourself out of a funk? Because maybe that would help somebody else too.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mutual Minds.
Yes.
Don't forget to follow us everywhere, Isabel and Tamera, literally everywhere that you could think of. And we will see you guys next Wednesday.